Can you hear us okay?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. My computer shut down. All right. All right, are you all able to see the screen on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Since December 25th is a Friday and January 1st is Friday.
That's old. That was my old notes. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it in this mode so that it doesn't get all complicated again. So, anyways, okay, going to the Bissell Cove management area, the default schedule, same thing, is open 8 to 12, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, beginning the second Wednesday of December, continuing through the end of April, and it excludes December 25th and January 1st annually. I'm just going to show you the landings for the area. Landings have been relatively low in this particular area. The number of individuals that harvest from here has been so low that all the data is confidential going back to 2013. So this is really the data that I can share.
3 diggers?
3 diggers, yeah.
Less than that since 2013.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So,
can't believe I haven't seen it. So, well,
Yeah.
we haven't stocked it. The only time we're going there is when we stock it.
so yeah, so very low in this particular area.
Guess that.
I'm just gonna see if anyone from Pat, is there anyone on the Zoom that has any questions?
At the moment, no questions on the Zoom.
Okay, any chat comments?
Nothing in the chat as of now.
Okay. Sorry, what was that, Mike?
Should we just mimic what we do in Greenwich? I don't.
Up to you all. Yeah.
I don't see
There, yes, the default schedule. It's almost the same. It just would add additional days if you were to do the default or the schedule that you did for Greenwich. Yeah, exactly.
I know the past week, we've done the default for everything.
But I don't even get any of you guys do. Yeah. So whatever's easiest.
Yeah, Dennis?
It'd just be, the simplest way would be the first part of the motion minus the rainfall closure days.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. What would you like to say?
Second.
Huh?
No. Oh, the motion to mimic what we do in Greenwich, the same schedule.
Let me copy that.
As Dennis said, without the, the closure dates, the Tuesday we go to that, or Thursday, Friday.
And remove this last sentence.
Yeah, you can do that.
Hmm?
Is that enough days there? I thought we had more.
It's 11 days. Mhm.
And Tuesday also.
So this includes the Tuesday, but not the Thursday.
Well, what you do is both. The only difference is Dennis mentioned that there's no closure, rain closures there, so that whole caveat of, you know, it's available.
Do you want me to add in the 23rd and 30th in here?
Well, for the three guys.
Yep.
I'll let them know.
Okay.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, no discussion, I'll go to move to vote. Brennan Beeker?
Yes.
Dennis Erkin?
Yes.
John McDonald? Mike McGinn?
Yes.
Ken Smirko? Jeff Gardner?
Jeff Gardner. Can you all hear us online?
We can hear you. I think Jeff is gone from the chat. I'm not sure if he rejoined when we lost
Okay.
connection.
Okay.
This is Jerry. I'll say yay.
Okay. Chris Sperry?
Yay.
Motion passes. 7 yeas.
Okay, on to Bristol Harbor. The default schedule is the same, open 8 to 12 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but it starts January 2nd and continues through January 31st. Then it is open daily February 1st through April 30th and closed May 1st through January 1st. Sorry, I'll just show you. This is the map or the graph of the harvest from here. It is the graph I showed last year. Same situation. There is so few people that come here to harvest that all of the data is confidential, going back to 2012. So, okay.
Any discussion on the motion?
I was just saying, if you're not changing it, you don't need to vote on it.
Oh. Okay. That's a good point. I know we voted on it last year and kept it as default. All right. All right. On to the next topic. So I'm going to go over the stats from all of the landings that we have from the Providence River opening that started in May and lasted through August. Due to rainfall closures, we didn't see any openings in September. There was a total of 12 days that were open out of the 27 allotted days, which made it 44% of the time open. The total amount harvested out of the area was 3.9 million clams. And if you look at the first graph here of the total landings by month, you can see a slight increase as the month progresses of total landings. So this is just the full total amount that was harvested from the area. Do note that I have this other graph here because it's broken down by total landings by day. So the reason May, June, and July look so low is because there were only 2 days open each of those months. August, there were 6 days open. So that's why there's such a significant difference in those months. If you look at it by the total, by the day that was open, you do see a slight progression in an increase of harvest as time goes on, but it's relatively about the same until you reach August. The total landings per day ranged from 204,000 to 438,000 clams. And the average of that was 328 clams a day that were harvested out of this area. This is for that entire time series. So I'm looking at the total from all of those months and I'm dividing by the number of days that it's open. So that's your average. Yes.
Just by, so count, so you're including some neck, tops,
Yeah, it's everything.
and by the pound for days?
It's by the count. It's literally by the
Is
count.
there a conversion factor for the chowders?
There is, so I removed the chowder was so insignificant that I didn't include that in here because it's just such a small
This is
number.
Based on it.
Pretty much, yeah. And I will show you, I'll jump to this just so you quickly, just because you brought that up, I'll show you this is what you got. So it's mostly little neck that you're pulling out of that area. Yeah. Yeah.
Close for 80 years. And it's all over that.
Yeah. So yeah, 84% of it was little necks and 14% was top neck. So that was pretty much everything that you're pulling from there. Going back to this slide, on average, each individual was taking about 2,041 clams. Again, I looked at all of the data throughout the whole time series. All the individuals, even if they were repeated, if they came back each day. So it's an actual estimate of the average that was taken per day per individual that showed up. And then if you look at this figure here, this is just showing you how landings, total landings, and the number of individuals sort of pretty much a correlated relationship. You know, the more people that are out there, the more that's being harvested from the area. And we saw, again, like a slight increase in the number of people harvesting out of there from May through August. All right. I guess any questions on this slide? I'm going to also send out these slides to everyone on the SAP after this meeting. So you'll all have a copy to review again. Sorry, Pat, is there anyone on Zoom that has any questions?
No questions in the chat.
Yeah, Dennis.
Can I ask, that can be sent out as a PDF so there's a format with a different versions?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I know PowerPoint is a little crazy for everyone to open on their own individual computers, so I'll do it as PowerPoint or PDF. Okay, so here I just wanted to show you a comparison of what we put into the simulator that we presented to all of you in the spring and winter about how we came up with the proposed schedule that you all, worked from to come up with your harvest schedule. So in the simulator, we pulled the data that we collected during the Providence River transplant. So this top section here, the 2020 Providence River transplant summary, is what we worked with to come up with our schedule. And from that, there was 58 people that showed up for the transplant. We calculated an average of 137 cohogs collected per bushel as a harvest rate. And we were able to get this data from NBC, who was there, and we also were out there counting randomly different bags that were brought over at the end of the transplant. And we were able to determine a harvest rate that we used in our simulator. So I wanted you to just see in comparison to what we're actually now seeing based on the landings data. So down here below, we averaged 160 people per day that showed up to harvest. And this ranged from 120, sorry, let me just look at my notes, 120, 128, I want to say, 128 or 129, one of those numbers, to 197 people. So on the high end, I was seeing that 197 people, 190 people showing up more in August. So again, the number of people started to increase as the season went along. The average number of cohogs per bushel that was collected was 340. And the average number of cohogs harvested on a single day per individual, it was 2,041. This is the number I showed you on the previous slide. And this number ranged from, some people only took 70, there wasn't many of that. And then some people were harvesting upwards of 6,400 cohogs in a day. And then again, we came to a total of 3.9 million clams that were harvested over 12 days. And so the MSY that we put out there of 2 million was reached within 6 of those days. Yes, Brennan.
The average whole bushel harvest rate, so is that just you take like their full amount from their day and divide by 6?
We collected, so I got that number by, I took the average number of clams that were collected per person, which was 2,041, divided by the 6 bushel limit per day. So I know it's not a super accurate representation. I'm working with what the numbers I have, and I know there's a range. Yeah, and the plan is that, I'm gonna sort of dig into this data a little bit more and give you a little more of like what that range would be. But for now, this is kind of what I have to show you.
I think that kind of explains why the numbers are so different. I know I had a friend who went all the time, and he would go home early to beat the rush to the dealer and not get his 6 bushels, and it was over 2,000 count, and it wasn't even a 6 bushel limit.
Yeah.
So I think that explains why they're so different.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, with the transplant too, these guys are picking good stuff. I mean, they're throwing everything they can at that. So, kind of, like when you guys pick through on harvest time transplant, where did you throw like the junk away? Yeah. So like that's maybe a third, maybe a little less, a fourth of that bag is junk. Yep. So that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. We only recorded what was living.
Yeah.
So yeah. And so that's where we came up with that number, is what was alive in the bags.
Plus most guys that went out during the river had to pick it. That was their job. They were picking the shit just to get the real stuff that we stuff.
Well, I think where the disconnect happened was, I was mentioned earlier, when we had a transplant, the weather conditions were really tough.
Yeah.
And a lot of the areas that we ended up fishing when it opened regularly, guys didn't access. I know where I went, it was all bigs and tops.
Yeah.
Some neck there, it was just so windy.
Yeah.
you look on the west side, a lot of the guys working the edges, which you couldn't have done with that weather.
Yeah.
And I mentioned a friend of mine, a very good digger, who's working off of, well, it's cold, but where a lot of us are working, you know, that area there.
Mhm.
And he said the tide ran so hard coming in, the first 3 hours, he was having trouble catching and clearing the deckers because it was a north wind.
Mm.
And he said when the wind died, you know, the tide stopped, he said he started racking them. You know, whoa.
Mm.
So I think just given the circumstances, and we didn't know this, you know, this is not something that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Exactly.
One of the reasons we did the 6-bushel limit.
Yep.
Because we didn't want guys throwing all the bigs and tops back. So
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think the initial, the stuff in that you guys used was compromised, not by anybody's fault, just
Yeah.
by the circumstances.
Yeah, we just didn't have
And
enough.
then I think, frankly, I got it, and I think you guys got it all half right.
Mhm.
I think, you know.
Yep.
2 million should have been 4 million, or,
Mhm.
you know, some number like that, and
Mhm.
so,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's so hard if you're just working from such a little amount of information, trying to come up with some a management of an area
nobody's
with
fault, that's
just,
the way it went.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I just feel, I don't know if everybody was going in with 6 bushels, so I think that assumption is kind of a poor outcome.
yeah, no, this was just calculating again, just the averages. You know, I'm
Yeah,
gonna,
like the 340, I think everybody's like, discussing, like, yeah, a bushel's really 9 gallons.
Mhm.
It's really 2 buckets,
mhm,
you know, and what we were catching, that would have been like 800.
yeah,
900, like when you mentioned it, so.
Yep.
But I know you have to have numbers and all that other stuff, and what, the other part, I kind of forgot about it, a lot of the licenses we have are 3-bushel limit licenses. The oversized and the CFLs,
Excuse me, Anna?
you know, so that was another kind of change, and enforcement was doing their job, checking people and stuff, and
yeah,
to work that out. So, you know, that was partly under the 6-bushel, because there's so many licenses. that
Yeah.
couldn't do that.
yep.
Excuse me, Anna?
Yeah, Jerry?
Yeah, I was wondering, is there possible to have the volume turned up on the other people speaking? Is there any way possible for that? I can barely hear Mike.
Unfortunately, no, everyone's spaced a bit in here.
Okay.
I can try to turn the mic, but I don't think that's gonna make any difference.
No, I didn't know if there was a volume button, but thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, this was gonna lead into, the plan moving forward. So the plan moving forward, there's a couple things. On our side at DMF, we are going to, look at the data more closely, and we're going to work on scheduling a series of meetings this winter to go through and hash out what we want to do for the schedule for next year. And so we'll have a couple of SAP meetings set up so that we have more time to really discuss, people feel comfortable with the schedule that we come up with. They feel like they have all their questions answered. So our plan is we're gonna work with Katie, and we're gonna get a couple of meetings scheduled throughout the winter to really figure out what we're gonna do for the schedule for next summer. The next component is, oh, yeah. So the next component is, I'm gonna let Mike take over and present this. This is a proposal that RISA came up with.
When we had our SAP meeting back in the spring to decide what to do during the summer, it was added to the language that when it was done, we would reevaluate what the summer was. And we talked about if there was any unused days, potentially schedule them for further that year. I had a membership meeting last Wednesday, with 40-something people there, including 3 dealers.
And I propose that we try to get 3 additional days before the end of the year, during December, the holiday period. Due to the production of this area and the fact that it's a very rainy month, the membership voted to try to get 1 day a week in, starting on, I think it's Monday, December 13th. And through the December 17th. And that this area will be open for 1 day when water quality allows, from 8 AM to 11 AM with a 6 bushel limit. It'll be open for the first available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of that week. Now, we've never scheduled an area for 1 day that's closest on a ½ inch of rain. It's usually a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like Greenwich, or what we did this summer. But given the variety and the fact that it could be open on a Tuesday and not on a Monday and not on a Wednesday, we want to have as much flexibility as possible. But we also want to make sure the language stated that we weren't going to get more than 3 days in that December period. Reasons of production, but also I understand the Fish and Wildlife had some concerns about the amount harvested, and I thought it was important for them to have a set number possibility that could only be 3 days. So what we're requesting is that beginning the week of, I just mentioned, the 13th to the 17th, that this area open, as I mentioned, 8 AM to 11 AM with a 6 bushel limit. It'll be open the first available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of that week. And then, because I want to make sure that everyone understands this is a 1 day a week thing, I set up the same language for the following week. The week of December 20th through December 23rd. I'm not including the Friday, which is Christmas Eve. I took the Friday off, so it's only 4 days potential. And it'll be open for 1 day when water quality allows from 8 AM to 11 AM with a 6 bushel limit. So that'd be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that week. And then the last week, beginning the week of December 27th through December 30th, Area E will open for 1 day when water quality allows from 8 AM to 11 AM with a 6 bushel limit. It'll be open the first available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that week. I ran this language by Kurt Blanchard from DM Enforcement, and he said the language I came up with illustrates what we want to do. And if the SAP approves of this schedule, they will look into it a little further to make sure the language is appropriate for everyone. But he was comfortable with the language that we came up with. December is a rainy month, and getting access to this area is a low percentage. But given we only had 12 of the potential 27 openings in 2021, we feel is appropriate and could give the shellfish industry a boost going into winter. I've communicated with several dealers. I mentioned 3 were at the meeting, and a 4th one through one of his diggers came up to me at the end of the meeting and said he supports that too. We're all supportive. And if enforcement comes up with language that's different, we'll certainly move that to the Marine Fishery Council. But I'm asking the Shellfish Advisory Panel, given the fact that we had planned on having this discussion and that we had talked about using the days if they weren't utilized, and it was only 44%, in less than half the time, we got twice as much of what Fish and Wildlife was estimating. That I think it's a measured and appropriate, and it would help the dealers and get their Christmas orders in if it's open, because once again it's a windy, rainy month, and also give the fishermen, as I mentioned, a boost going into the holidays. So that's our position on that. Stop.
Okay. So I will say from marine fishery standpoint, we are going to thoroughly review this proposal and be providing feedback at the Fisheries Council meeting next week. And yes, Dennis.
I wondered when you guys intend on doing the dredge survey.
That,
Full winter.
yeah, so I believe that the plan is to go in. Pat actually is on the call. He has the dates because he's running it now. Pat, do you mind chiming in on the dates that the dredge survey is going to be running up there in the Providence River?
Hey, I think the Providence River will be scheduled like November 1st, like that week.
Okay, and it'll be running up and through the end of the month?
I think so. Yeah, it'll probably be the first 2 weeks of November and then a following week later in the month, if needed.
Okay.
And if I may make a point, since this would close out the 2021 season for this area, Fish and Wildlife can certainly use whatever numbers that come up, both attendance and catch rate
Mhm.
going forward. And if they feel there's, too much access to this area, they can do it on the next year's schedule.
Mhm. Mhm.
So this isn't something it's an end all. It's
Yeah.
just continuation of what we were hoping would be a longer long season.
Yeah. Yeah, what we want to do is just double check the numbers. So the difference in, just get a better estimate of what the harvest rate is and take a look more closely at that data. So we have a more accurate idea of what the harvest rates were. But we will have that all figured out. So we will have feedback at the council meeting next week.
And it would be good information just at the participant level.
Yep.
Because the weather's turning,
Yep.
and just for us, the stuff goes down,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not as easily accessed.
Yeah.
Over months, so I
Yeah.
think that might kind of at least give more information into how to schedule it going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably fewer people going out too. A little colder. Maybe.
So I'm not a modeling expert, but
Mhm.
if the catch rate was a heck of a lot higher than the model suggested, that indicated there's more co-hogs there than the model thought, and MSY would actually be higher than the 2 million. It's just a thought I had.
Well, right, we were saying, I think we got it half right. I think
That's what I mean.
like 4 million, I think is maybe, it's just, and like I said, there was nobody's fault, it's just
Mhm.
what the numbers you had in the transplant
Yeah,
were somewhat skewed. If it was a beautiful sunny day,
it would be
you would have had
different.
90 guys there,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
working off of bullets.
Exactly.
You're going, holy moly, this place is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, modeling's an exact science, so.
Especially with just
Yeah,
little.
and it's like
information.
the more
Look
data you
back-
get,
Yeah,
the
when you look
better.
back at it, maybe MSY actually was higher, so. In my mind,
I
it seems
believe
like
it.
there's plenty of biomass there to open for these 3 days.
yeah, I mean, that's why we need to like rerun it again, rerun the model with like these updated harvest rates and everything. That'll definitely give us a better idea. It's like you can only work with what you have, so,
Well, data was
yeah.
very limited, and
Yeah,
it should be
exactly.
Getting better and better.
Yeah, as more time goes on, we'll have a better understanding. Yep. Yeah, Vernon.
Another point to open this winter.
Mhm.
I spoke to Connor, I don't want to speak to Connor, but he mentioned that they were more afraid of, 160 people going during this winter time.
Mhm.
And I mentioned maybe if we lowered the amount of hours, we just instead of 3 hours, 2 hours.
Okay.
Instead of guys that are going, digging every day, and know what they're doing, are able to catch, they're going out, and maybe the guys that only go out once a year won't be able to do so well, they won't bring as much as they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, whatever helps, I feel like that's a big factor for you guys in deciding
Mm-hmm.
the amount of guys that actually get out, but for us on the field, it's like, this is huge.
The time frame. Okay.
It's open for us.
Okay.
And Christmas and New Year's,
Yeah.
just as big as what we got for us.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, the reason we chose the 3 hours was a continuation of the policy that we did for the summertime. And, wintertime does have its challenges.
I agree, I'm just saying.
And I do believe in, this is for the winter discussion. But at the membership meeting, we did talk about going forward, not December going forward, but next year. That we might look into 2-hour openings.
I was just saying, the position was that maybe just a maybe lesser amount, trying to keep it lower than the guys. The part timers, the guys that usually go, when we can try going out to 2 hours.
Well, you're boxing yourself in with conditions and stuff, though.
Yeah,
If you have bad
just for this
conditions.
one, if they can open it just.
2 hours isn't enough time to go away.
I agree, but I mean, I.
Especially one day a week.
Have
One
you been
day.
out, I mean, have you been out there in January when it's, cold, snowing, you don't know. what's-
Poles go apart.
And it takes you 45 minutes to get there and then you set up and just something goes wrong.
I agree, but I'm saying
Something
if
goes wrong, you're
it
out.
takes them to let us have it open, to
I-
42 hours, I mean, would you rather be closed or
You
be
can go,
open for 2
well, you can
hours?
go 2 out of 3 days.
No. If we had a 2 million plan, quota in the beginning, and we harvested 4 million, and that shows you how much more product is in there. What's the arbitrary number gonna be next year? Cause that data that you have was off by a country mile. And it proved, like, all those guys that went in there and dug, it's so much better than what the model showed, that there's a lot of stuff in there. So,
I agree with you on that, I was just saying 2 hour limit for just this, the 3 days before Christmas and New Year, not going forward, just for this winter. If that would be what it took for them to open it for us.
well, no, my opinion still is that 4 million number should even be higher.
I agree, I mean, it's.
So,
it's
so,
stuff
so why pigeonhole us into this little tiny opening? That's not even worth
I
it.
think we should push this through.
Dennis had a,
So,
Question.
the reason I asked about the dredging is there's a long-term data set of the dredge survey that's gone on the Providence River. All those previous times were unfished and now dredging it after a fishing period would be a really helpful chunk of data, in my opinion.
yep, absolutely.
And big picture stuff, first of all, just to your point, I think we should continue with that, the schedule we had for the summer. My membership, a lot of guys, a lot more guys that are on this call right now voted to support the 3 hours. I don't think we should be bargaining with Fish and Wildlife at this point. I think it's something that we put a proposal through and.
Even just for these 3 days? That's all.
Well, I just think we put our proposal in and not try to bargain out. It's not like we're buying a used car. It's something that we've got to support and voted for. And then going forward, we can talk about, and there is going to be some, not bargaining, but there is going to be some, okay, we're going to give you 20 hours or 40 hours next year. How do you want to split them up? And now we have all the data to show you what per hour production is. So going forward, I think that there might be what you're talking about, trying to work out.
Yeah, I'm not even there.
But I think for this fall opening, and my guess is we won't get any of these days, or if we do, maybe 1 or 2, that we should stick with the schedule we had earlier. And like, we said, if you're out in the winter time, it's a whole different ballgame. Guys are coming from Wickford, guys are coming from, Tiverton, it's a long ride, and, gas is up, and I just think that the dealers, everybody seemed to be on board with the 3 hours.
Okay,
So I don't see.
I would rather have the 3 hours, but I'm saying if that would, if it takes them to only give
So
2
take a
hours.
motion. Yeah, we'll- yeah, let's discuss it.
all right, is there anyone on the Zoom call that wants to add anything?
It's Jerry, and I'm just curious if, once they do the dredging, is it gonna be available for us to, take a peek at what's up there,
Yeah,
the survey?
we'll share that information during the next SAP meeting that we have for Providence River. So we'll have that information and we'll share that with you then. Anyone else on Zoom? All right.
Would any member like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to add these 3 harvest days as proposed by RSA.
Second then.
Motion made by Mervin, second by McGivney. Any discussion on the motion?
Like
I
a plan
think-
good?
Yeah,
Well-
an alternative proposal to the current one.
So we'd like to amend the motion?
Like if this one doesn't go through.
I think first we have to vote.
Motion been made.
Is the motion to make it to vote on that, but there's on the motion, which somebody has to be second. We'll do that, we'll talk about that, and then we'll vote, and then.
Instead of having, because the rain is. got a 50% chance of it being open out of the gate. You've got 3 days.
Could you add that week?
You've got the first 3 days.
To give more options. We could add that first week as a possibility, but if you get the first 3, I guess that's not.
No, the first week, first available day of the week.
When we first came up with the Greenwich schedule, the second Wednesday was when the market started to get ready for Christmas. Back then, Greenwich was not a conditional area.
Right.
And we were the cat's meow, whatever old term you want to use, like basically New York, all these people lined up to buy the clams from Greenwich, you know. And we didn't want to start too early because that would drive the price down. And the market wasn't ready for the production. If you noticed, I went a week longer than what Greenwich is for my proposal. Greenwich opens on the 8th.
Yep.
I waited for the 13th because I think that's when things have changed now, that it's a much closer, narrower time frame to have this kind of production because the clams have to be in and out. They can't sit in the coolers for 10 days, or 12 days. So I wouldn't support trying to go earlier, at least that early, because we haven't done it with Greenwich, we haven't done it with other areas, and this is like super Greenwich now. This is like 10 times what Greenwich is. So
Yeah.
I just think that the timing is wrong, and I think this is a much safer, you know, course as far as trying to keep the price up and not inundate the dealers. You know, because you don't want the dealers drop the price to 22 because their pool is full because last week they didn't sell it. So that would be my concern about starting early.
I would agree with that. Like if we were to get a 4th day, I would rather get it before it's closer to on.
It's not our option when Mother Nature does the rains.
I agree, but
So-
say
so-
we get.
So it's an insurance policy to possibly get one of the days in the month of December.
Yeah, but if we get that
Yeah.
first week.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be, because Greenwich is like, too, it's just gonna be an overload of products.
I'm
during
putting
the dead
it
season.
on the table because I think there's a possibility that you could get that first week and not get the other 3. We don't know.
Yeah, but I don't need the stuff for that.
Right, that's what they're saying, that you get it, but then it might do more harm than good. You know, like drop the price to such a point that, you know, it kind of poisons the well going forward for the holiday prices. Which gets back to why I said we waited to the second week of Wednesday, you know, and even then it's too early as time is going on. Because, you know, the market doesn't really pick up to the 2 weeks before Christmas. You know, that's when the parties start and all the other stuff, so. We have a motion, second, another discussion.
Any more discussion? Anything to add? Okay. We need to vote. Brennan Beaker. We're voting on basically the rest of the proposal. No regret. Dan Turkey? John McDonald?
Abstain.
Mike McGivney?
Yes.
Dan Murdo?
Yeah.
Jeff Gardner? Did I have a phone? Jerry Shy?
Yes.
Chris Berry?
Yes.
5 yeas and 3 abstentions. Oh, sorry. 2 abstentions. So the motion passes?
Yeah,
That's
Great for no rain,
it does.
anti-rain ban. And if the end comes up with any language between now and the council hearing.
Yeah.
You know, but now that they know that it's been approved, then we can add that language to it.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
Other kind of question for Mike. So would it be, if it doesn't rain, would it be open on Tuesday or Thursday of that week? Or would it be open on Monday, Wednesday, Friday and have Greenwich open as well? How would
And it would be the first available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, could be open on any of those.
And would Greenwich also be open on Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Greenwich would be similar because it's a half inch, so it probably wouldn't be open, but Greenwich is gonna be the normal one, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, so they would both be open.
The potential is that they could both be open. And really, the only downside, I always try to think about the downside would be the Thursday before New Year's.
Yeah.
That would be the one, just because, like we said, you wanna get the stuff out, but, it's hard to move that much product, that quick, but.
If it's a Thursday, it's staying.
But, then you just be doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so that was the one debate that I had. Christmas is good because it kind of get the follow for the next week. So if you have extra on Christmas Eve, you're fine, because everybody's gonna, want stuff the next week, so that was my one day that, is we found out that Friday openings for this area E was somewhat problematic for some dealers, not larger dealers, but you'd have the Friday catch,
Mhm.
and then you wouldn't be able to move that much, then you'd have Monday opening. So you'd have your
Yeah.
coolers full with the potential of getting a lot more, and that's when you get the drastic price drops.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
dealer says, I can't get rid of the stuff for this, I'm gonna pay 20 cents to make up the fact that I just lost a bundle on the 30-cent plans.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's something for a different time, going forward.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially for next summer.
And
discussion.
while I'm mentioning it, there was a real disparity about how the dealers handled it.
Mhm.
I don't wanna say it was fortunate that we had so much rain this summer, but
Mhm.
it prolonged or kept the problem from rising till August. We saw it in the graphs.
Yeah.
We had the 6 days, I think it was, in the production there.
Yeah.
That I know one dealer went to 1,000 count.
Yeah.
My dealer went to a 2,000 count. There was a lot of
Yeah.
issues and, Mars had tractor trailers and big markets, so the more the merrier. They actually went up in price when the production was so high. But the other dealers struggled.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is kind of trying to balance everything involved.
Yeah. It was definitely a good learning curve this summer. Okay, so quickly, even though he's not on the call, Jeff Gardner requested me to just give a quick update on 2 things. One being the status of what's happening in Potter Pond, with the aquaculture. And I'm gonna have Dave Borkman from Office of Water Resources also chime in with this. But as of now, the aquaculture activity in Potter Pond is still closed due to, there has been,
Camp or something?
yeah, there, it
Never
was,
heard it before.
yeah, it was,
It's geese, right?
Geese and ducks. It's Campylobacter. It's a group of bacteria called Tunis crop. So this evolved a little differently than normal for closures. Usually the closures are in response to something we detect from the water or something we do as a precaution, like there's going to be a 12-inch rainstorm or a flood or something. This was actually a Department of Health illness traceback. So in total, now 8 people have become sick. and it's in 3 separate parties or incidents. So the 3 number is key because to the FDA, it becomes an illness outbreak. So the illnesses have been traced back to oysters harvested now a while ago, between August 9th and August 19th, all at the single aquaculture lease that's in part. So we got the first illness.
So no recreational.
There is, so because that investigation is still ongoing, the whole growing area is closed. We're working on getting wild harvest samples and analyze for Campylobacter. It's a little slow because the Department of Health doesn't routinely do this kind of culture test. It takes 5 days to essentially homogenize the shellfish, culture it, and let it develop. So if the batch of samples comes back next week from the wild samples and they're okay, we could possibly reopen everything except for these. So long story short, an unusual outbreak related to illnesses, gene sequencing of stool samples from the sick people confirmed Campylobacter, in particular this one species, Campylobacter mari, which is almost exclusively associated with gulls and shorebirds. So it seems like the problem is related to birds hanging out indefinitely in our leaves. So about 10 days ago, the lease owner has removed the floats. Now we're working with CRMC and Department of Health to collect samples and show improvement in the frequency of Campylobacter. So the idea is get rid of the birds, get rid of the source, it should clean up. Campylobacter, there's not a ton of data, but it's fecal coliform only. We can tell you declaration rates, how many days it's likely to take based on temperature. Campylobacter is not quite as much, so we're probably at least a couple more weeks for the get 3 samples in a row. So that's the update. Seems like it's related to birds. We're working towards clearing the rest of the growing area, getting evidence that the FDA will accept to say, look, it's just this one spot, it's not the whole place. That could come possibly next week. A little longer for this.
All right, thank you so much for that update. And so the second item was the Bay SAMP. So as most of you know, they are currently, or probably just ending one of their meetings. This one was for the Sakonnet River area. They've been doing the aquaculture components over the last few months, and DEM has been participating in these meetings as well. They have been presenting the map that they've come up with online, interactive map. A lot of it's very similar to the marine fisheries interactive map, just to come up with areas that would be sort of more off limits to aquaculture. So most of the meetings are presenting this information and trying to get feedback from stakeholders, mostly local municipalities. Yes, Ken.
As a commercial fishing stakeholder, I've been a little frustrated with this process. They did it throughout the summer. The height of fishing season, I work 80 to 100 hours a week. I'd love to be there, but
Yeah.
I barely attend these meetings, and they're not at the height of summer.
Yeah.
So I sent a couple of, probably not my nicest emails, but I was a little frustrated that they were having June, July, August, and expecting commercial fishermen input. We're on the water.
Yeah, no,
So,
I know
I
Katie
mean,
has,
EM does a great job of, trying to do stuff fall, winter, and early spring, but it seemed like they didn't really think it through.
Well, this is
So-
CRMC, this is CRMC.
Yeah, I've been there.
No, this is not.
No, I know that. That's why I made that clear.
But what happened was, we've been asking for this like 7 or 8 years.
Oh, I know. I want to be.
No, I'm not arguing, just kind of,
Yeah.
how where we're at in the stage. And finally, what they started doing it because they had to do it for the windmills. We had to trace the corridor for the power coming in, which we did, and we actually sent a letter to then Grover, now, to CRMC, asking them to, move it up. So what happened was in the springtime is when they said, okay, we're ready to do this. And we've been asking all these years, so we didn't want to say no.
Yeah.
But fortunately, and this is a very preliminary part of the thing.
yes.
The real cutting and deciding is not for some time. It's gonna be the winter
Yep.
that, we work on this stuff. I can tell you one thing I mentioned, is that it's not a secret, the areas that we're talking about protecting, and the problem is CRMC does have a no button when it comes to agriculture leases. Everybody can say no. We had a gentleman, Triano, I think it was, off of Connecticut, that everybody said no to his lease. The harbor master, DEM, Marine Fishery Council, CRMC, everybody said no, but the process allowed them to go all the way up to the council. So we had to drag our old butts up on a Monday night at 9 o'clock at night to oppose this thing.
Yeah.
And then we had a Troiano one, which is the next one. And they don't have an off button, or no button. So what I told them is that, I've been doing this 43 years, and the grounds that I work are the same grounds that I've been working for 43 years. So we know the areas of fishermen need to protect. So this will be a process that hopefully will be that in the end, certain parts, probably, management areas, Greenwich Bay, will be off limit to private leases. There may be some exception, for kelp or something in winter, but generally they'll protect the fishing areas of the wild harvesters from having to go up on a Monday night and argue about something. So it was very frustrating. I missed the first 2 meetings because Monday at 4 o'clock is like the worst time. I have to be somewhere every day, every Monday at 4. But just know this is just part of the process. It's going to take some time, and the winter's really we're going to kind of go through it. So
The wealth fishery has become pretty widespread, and it doesn't seem to have much say in terms of aquaculture leases. So I found myself getting frustrated at that. So
There is, I don't know if you were here for when Ben was kind of talking about how he wants the fishermen to be more involved during the preliminary determination.
yeah. So while on that subject,
So you have opportunity then before they even submit their full application.
Yeah.
But I think you do. So, and I think now it's just time to be more on top of it.
So one part of the basin that they are struggling a little bit with is identifying fishing areas that maybe should be off limits. And they're kind of looking to DEM to provide some of that information. We can provide it based on our fishery independent surveys, and we can look at tagging areas and the density of harvest coming out of each. But beyond that, we don't really have data at the resolution that they're looking for. So if any of you have ideas for how they could get at that, I don't know if they're going to be doing any additional data collection as part of this. I think they're relying on existing data sources, but we're trying to come up with a way to help characterize that.
as far as I know, there's no tagging on wells, right? So there's not really any fine scale data about. what
and
is
we're
going
trying to integrate the SAP committee with the process. Just so you know, I think there's 80 something leases now, and almost everyone is going through the Shellfish Advisory Panel. And Katie's been involved, and we had several, especially early on in the process, where your dad was there, and a guy would want an area, and they say, no, we fished that area. Can you move it out 100 yards? And there was a lot of so a lot of things got fixed before they got to be to the final thing. And it's really this committee, and it's hard to get guys to come and be involved and stuff. And we were a little light on the East Bay. I'll admit that early. It's great that Katie's involved, and we have more East Bay participation because we're weak there. Same thing with the ponds. We used to be pretty strong with the ponds, but now there's no commercial fishing, with the ponds. So that kind of is a informational hole for us down there.
That's why I joined this.
So the more people get involved, to Katie's point, the more that they talk at the fact that a lot of these guys, the aquaculturists, they don't want to be in people's way, because that's conflict. And it's really morphed now. It seems that we're doing pretty good on the fishing end. It's the rich people don't want to look down and see these these above. And fishing gear, I think, is going to be the next big topic for this council, because they haven't been proactive, CRMC, up to now, as far as to keep gear from certain gear being used. But the preferred gear for most of the aquaculturists is now the stuff on top. It's easier to work on, it grows faster, but it looks terrible. So that's one of the things. Not only is where the aquaculture is going to be allowed, but also what's appropriate gear type.
One other thing I wanted to bring up on this subject, when they do their aquaculture applications, they put the map of where they want it to be, they use Google Earth. So when you show me this blue water, it's hard for like me to tell exactly where it is. I don't know if you could request that it's like when you had the co-working areas, it's like a NOAA chart, it's a contour lines and depths. If we could somehow request that they include that.
This is a great interlude.
Is it,
Yep.
so I just got one for a kelp farm in the lower West Passage. It's like halfway between Dutch Island and Beaverdale. And I fish out there quite a bit. And I know kind of where it is, but like looking at that Google map shot, I can't tell you like, I don't know, I might not fish there. It's hard to tell without like a real chart, like the NOAA charts that you have on your phone and tagging areas. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Evaluate fishing.
Seagrants is actually
Yeah.
working on a project with Robert Williams to develop an advanced mapping tool for applicants to use.
Yeah.
That will have that as a base map as well
Yeah.
as, I would guess, whatever comes out of the base stamp effort will probably get fed into that as well.
Mhm.
But all of that information should be in one spot and we should be able to produce a map that's pretty well informed.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yep.
It's just like very hard to like,
It's all standardized, exactly. Standardized output. We've all been working with them to say this is what should be on these maps. And they are gonna probably has a default all of the nautical charts.
Yeah.
So that's their base.
I think you can also find it if you go on the GIS page for some of your mapping.
Yep.
tools,
Mhm.
And you click on the navigational chart layer, and it should have up-to-date reviews, so you can be able to
okay.
do your own.
Yeah.
So even the preliminary application is
So
in there. I've
it
never read
is.
through it, but that would be good. Just like I read through, whatever's attached to the email, and it's very.
Yes,
it's hard to
they
use.
gotta show you the
Take the next
contours.
step on your phone.
You
Yeah.
gotta show you the contours, so
Yeah.
it's gotta be that, that precise of mapping.
Yeah. So that kelp farm, I will say we try to update the map regularly. We're not always able to get it updated like every month, but that kelp farm is on there right now.
Okay,
If you have any trouble accessing, just give one of us a call.
Yeah.
We'll get the one.
And if you have a map or an area that you want to see mapped out better, like an application,
it was
Let-
just in terms of the
yeah.
applications, because I look at it and I go, okay, I kind of fish in this area, but I'm not like just exactly sure what this Google Earth screenshot
Yeah.
is showing me. But. I
so
can
if
do
you,
that-
yeah, just come to me because I always end up mapping out all of these before the PD meetings
Yeah.
for my own use.
Yeah.
So I always have a nautical chart
Okay.
option. Yeah.
That would be awesome. It just makes it simpler, I think.
Yeah. So I talked to Ben and we're gonna be scheduling another SAP meeting. I'm hoping sometime in November. So that we can there's one aquaculture application that needs to be addressed. And then he said he would give an update on the base stamp then too, and probably Jim Boyd would come in. So that could be a good opportunity for the SAP to provide some feedback on the base stamp.
And I'd like to let everybody know that there's a CRMC review commission that was formed because of some of the recent decisions at CRMC. And we've been going through, one was today, earlier, and there's one scheduled for November 10th at 2 p.m. at the Jamestown Town Hall. And Ben and CRMC are going to give the commission a review of the aquaculture process and what's going on. I don't think we're at the point now in the commission that people can, from the public, can be there and give questions. But certainly, if anybody wants to send questions to me to ask, or just to listen in on what's being told.
Mhm.
Because as I mentioned, I think the gear thing is gonna be, coming up too, and that's something the SAP has talked about quite a bit,
Yep.
So just, if you're interested in that, it's gonna be a couple hour presentation.
Okay, great.
When are you thinking of the scheduling for November meeting? Is that what you're doing for this?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna probably aim for one of the last 2 weeks of November, just to give everyone time to put it in their calendar.
I think we are having a November council meeting as well.
Well, October 12th is when we're gonna hear this, right?
Yeah.
There
There was talk of doing the meeting for the council in November, but they ended up not doing that, I thought.
Okay.
So that,
Yeah.
that can be decided one way or the other, this winter scheduling at the 12th. And that will give DEM and, you know, all the time, if they does get approved, to
Yeah.
do the necessary, you know, regulation announcements. and
Exactly.
State, you know, 3 weeks it takes for the.
Get all
the state
filed.
house and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I guess if there's nothing else, I'll say the meeting's adjourned. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for bearing with us. with all the-
Yeah, I'm sorry, all the technology stuff.
More participation. Really good.
Thanks, Brandon.
It's so quiet. My dog would not behave anywhere near that well.